The remains of King Richard III were discovered beneath a car park in Leicester, England, on September 12, 2012. This extraordinary archaeological discovery took place at a site that, for centuries, had remained a mystery in the historical record. The excavation began after years of research and speculation about the final resting place of Richard III, who was believed to have been buried at the Greyfriars Friary in Leicester following his death at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. Over time, the exact location of his burial had been lost to history, with various theories circulating about where his remains might lie. The University of Leicester, in collaboration with a team of historians, archaeologists, and forensic scientists, undertook a meticulous investigation in search of the monarch's lost grave. The decision to excavate beneath a car park, a site built atop what was once the Greyfriars Church, added a layer of intrigue to the discovery. In many ways, the modern, functional car park stood as a stark contrast to the medieval history buried beneath its surface. The archaeological team meticulously excavated the site, revealing layers of historical evidence that helped confirm the identity of the remains. This location symbolized the intersection of past and present, as centuries of historical records and legends were finally brought to life in a physical, tangible form. The discovery at this specific site not only solved the historical mystery, but also provided an invaluable connection to the tumultuous era of Richard III's reign, bridging the gap between the medieval world and the modern-day understanding of history. Historical significance. The discovery of King Richard III's remains beneath a Leicester car park is historically significant for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, it marked the first verified identification of a British monarch's remains since the execution of King Charles I in 1649. This discovery was groundbreaking because it provided tangible, physical evidence of Richard III's existence and allowed historians to reassess and reevaluate his reign with fresh insights. For centuries, Richard III had been a controversial figure, often vilified in historical accounts and literature, particularly through the infamous portrayal by William Shakespeare in Richard III. His legacy had been overshadowed by Tudor propaganda and centuries of negative perceptions, which contributed to the widespread belief that he was a power-hungry usurper responsible for the deaths of his nephews, the princes in the Tower. The archaeological discovery challenged this long-standing narrative, offering a more balanced perspective of his reign, which was marked by political turmoil, dynastic conflict, and the complexities of 15th-century power struggles. Additionally, the historical significance of this discovery extended beyond Richard III himself, providing insights into the social and political conditions of late medieval England. The context of his rule, filled with conspiracies, alliances, and battles, became more tangible and relatable through the evidence of his physical remains. Beyond the academic realm, the discovery captured the public's imagination, offering an opportunity to engage with history in a way that goes beyond books and traditional sources. For these reasons, the finding of Richard III's remains has become an important moment in British history, redefining how historians, scholars, and the public understand the complexities of one of England's most debated monarchs. Identification process. The identification of King Richard III's remains was a meticulous and groundbreaking process that combined archaeological excavation with advanced forensic science. Once the remains were unearthed beneath the car park in Leicester, a thorough examination was conducted to confirm their identity beyond a shadow of a doubt. The process began with the careful excavation of the site, where the team meticulously uncovered skeletal remains that were consistent with historical descriptions of Richard III's physical condition. One of the key factors in confirming the identity was the presence of scoliosis, an abnormal curvature of the spine, commonly associated with Richard III, as documented in contemporary chronicles. This medical condition was a defining characteristic of his appearance and played a crucial role in linking the remains to historical records. To further solidify the identification, forensic scientists utilized advanced DNA analysis, comparing mitochondrial DNA from the remains with that of living maternal descendants from Richard III's family lineage. This technique allowed for a nearly conclusive match, as mitochondrial DNA is passed down through the maternal line with very little variation. Additionally, analysis of other skeletal markers, such as age, height, and wounds, aligned with the historical accounts of Richard III's life and the circumstances of his death at the Battle of Bosworth. The discovery of a fatal head wound to the skull provided further evidence of his violent demise during battle. Beyond physical examination, the detailed documentation and cross-referencing of historical and scientific data offered a comprehensive understanding of the remains. The collaborative effort between historians, archaeologists, and forensic experts ensured that the process was rigorous and comprehensive, leaving little room for doubt regarding the identity of the remains as those of King Richard III. This combination of science and history allowed for a definitive identification, revealing a monarch whose legacy had been shrouded in mystery for centuries. Reign of Richard III. King Richard III's reign, from 1483 to 1485, was a period of intense political turmoil and marked by the final years of the War of the Roses, a struggle for control of the English throne between the House of York and the House of Lancaster. His ascent to the throne followed the death of his brother, King Edward IV, leaving Richard as protector of the realm for his young nephew, Edward V. However, Richard's reign was not without controversy. After taking the throne for himself in 1483, Richard III faced immediate opposition, primarily due to his usurpation of power and the potential threat to the stability of the realm. His reign, therefore, became synonymous with power struggles, intrigue, and uncertainty. Richard's legacy has long been overshadowed by the portrayal of him as a power-hungry villain who orchestrated the disappearance and presumed murder of his nephews, the princes in the Tower. These accusations were propagated largely by Tudor propaganda, which painted Richard as a ruthless usurper. However, the discovery of his remains has provided historians with an opportunity to reconsider these claims, allowing for a more nuanced understanding of his rule. During his reign, Richard III faced numerous challenges, not only from internal factions seeking to claim the throne, but also from external threats, including rebellion and foreign interference. His position was precarious, and despite his efforts to stabilize the kingdom, his legitimacy as king was constantly questioned by his opponents. His short-lived reign of just 2 years ended with his death at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485, where he was famously defeated by Henry Tudor, who would later become King Henry VII. The historical re-evaluation of his reign, aided by the discovery of his remains, sheds light on a complex ruler whose actions were driven by a desire to maintain peace and order in a fractured kingdom, albeit through methods that were at times controversial and self-serving. Skeletal evidence. The skeletal remains of King Richard III provided a wealth of information that has significantly enhanced our understanding of his life, reign, and the conditions of the medieval period. The physical evidence uncovered during the excavation offered a vivid and personal glimpse into the hardships Richard III faced during his life, particularly the toll that warfare and health conditions had on his body. One of the most striking aspects of the skeletal evidence was the discovery of scoliosis, an abnormal curvature of the spine, which had long been associated with Richard III. Historical sources had previously described his physical deformity, and the identification of this condition in his remains confirmed these accounts, providing a direct link between the historical figure and his physical form. In addition to scoliosis, the remains revealed several other signs of trauma and medical conditions. A significant finding was the fatal head wound, an injury consistent with the fatal blow Richard sustained during the Battle of Bosworth. This discovery, combined with other battle-related injuries, such as a sharp-edged weapon wound to the pelvis, provided physical evidence of the violent and brutal nature of medieval combat. The severity of these wounds underscored the harsh realities of 15th-century warfare, where close combat was often deadly and left permanent physical marks on soldiers. Furthermore, the skeletal analysis also revealed insights into Richard III's health beyond injuries sustained during battle. The remains showed signs of malnutrition and bone abnormalities, suggesting a life of hardship and a struggle for survival in a politically unstable era. These health issues, combined with his scoliosis and combat injuries, painted a picture of a monarch whose body bore the weight of his reign's challenges and conflicts. Skeletal evidence also contributed to understanding Richard III's age, height, and even his diet, through the analysis of isotopes in the bones, which reflected his diet and geographic origin. This detailed analysis allowed scientists to reconstruct aspects of his life that would otherwise remain obscured by historical records. Ultimately, the skeletal evidence provided an unprecedented level of detail, enabling a deeper, more intimate exploration of the monarch's life and reign, transforming how historians and the public view Richard III beyond the myths and legends that had long defined him. Controversial legacy. King Richard III's legacy has been one of the most debated and controversial in English history. For centuries, his reputation has been overshadowed by Tudor propaganda and William Shakespeare's iconic portrayal of him as a power-hungry, devious, and morally corrupt monarch. This narrative, crafted largely by those who succeeded him, painted Richard III as a villain responsible for the ruthless usurpation of the throne, the imprisonment and presumed murder of his nephews, the princes in the Tower, and his desperate thirst for power at any cost. However, the discovery of his remains has opened the door to a more balanced re-evaluation of his reign, allowing historians and scholars to move beyond these long-held stereotypes. The Tudor era, which followed Richard's defeat at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485, sought to discredit the Yorkist king by tarnishing his character. Much of the historical evidence against Richard was written by Tudor chroniclers who had a vested interest in legitimizing their own claim to the throne through the elimination of Richard's legacy. This distortion of history led to Richard III's characterization as a villain, a narrative that endured for centuries and shaped public perception. Shakespeare's play, Richard III, further cemented this negative image, presenting Richard as a scheming, morally bankrupt ruler who manipulates and murders his way to the throne. However, recent scholarship and the discovery of Richard's remains have provided a more nuanced understanding of his reign. The physical evidence uncovered, such as the scoliosis and battle wounds, offers a more humanized perspective of a monarch who ruled during a turbulent time. It has also been suggested that Richard was likely driven by a genuine desire to protect the kingdom from political instability, which was rampant following the death of his brother, King Edward IV. Furthermore, recent historical research has questioned the validity of accusations surrounding the princes in the Tower, suggesting that Tudor claims were politically motivated and lacked substantial evidence. This reassessment has led to a growing recognition of Richard III as a ruler who may have been misunderstood rather than purely villainous. The discovery of his remains has thus provided a unique opportunity to revisit the legacy of Richard III with an emphasis on historical accuracy rather than fictionalized portrayals. This shift has allowed for a deeper, more complex understanding of his reign, challenging preconceived notions and encouraging a more balanced view of a monarch whose reputation has long been clouded by myth and politics. Historical records versus archaeology. The discovery of King Richard III's remains has significantly impacted the way historians approach historical records in archaeology. For centuries, historians relied primarily on written sources, chronicles, royal documents, and Tudor-era accounts to understand Richard's life and reign. These sources, however, were often influenced by political agendas and biases, particularly given the Tudor monarchy's need to legitimize their rule and demonize the Yorkist legacy. As a result, much of what was previously accepted as historical fact about Richard III was shaped by the narratives crafted by those who succeeded him. Archaeology, however, provides a different lens through which history can be examined. The physical evidence uncovered at the site, skeletons, artifacts, and structural remains, offers a tangible connection to the past that written records often cannot capture fully. For Richard III, the discovery of his remains beneath a Leicester car park challenged centuries of Tudor-influenced historiography, providing a more objective view based on physical evidence rather than interpretation alone. This shift has been critical in uncovering a more nuanced understanding of his reign, revealing aspects of his life and rule that had been lost or distorted over time. The archaeological investigation of Richard III's remains also highlighted discrepancies between historical texts and physical evidence. For example, the identification of scoliosis and other injuries contradicted some of the written descriptions of his physical appearance found in early Tudor accounts, suggesting that earlier depictions of his deformity were exaggerated or politically motivated. Similarly, Forensic analysis of his wounds and dietary information provided insights into his life that were absent from traditional historical narratives. This blending of archaeology and history has allowed for a more comprehensive understanding of the complexities of Richard III's reign. By combining scientific methods with historical research, scholars have been able to challenge long-standing myths and reassess previously accepted conclusions about his character and rule. The discovery of Richard III's remains ultimately underscores the importance of integrating archaeological evidence into historical research, offering a richer, more multidimensional view of the past. Public interest and global attention. The discovery of King Richard III's remains beneath a Leicester car park captured the attention of the global community in a way few archaeological finds ever have. From the moment the news broke, it became an unprecedented media sensation, drawing interest not just from historians and academics, but from the general public around the world. The idea of uncovering the remains of a long-lost monarch, particularly one whose reign had been shrouded in mystery and myth, resonated deeply with people across different cultures and walks of life. The discovery symbolized a bridge between the past and present, offering a tangible link to a figure whose life had been shaped by legend, propaganda, and historical distortion. The global media played a significant role in amplifying the discovery, with news outlets reporting on each step of the excavation process and forensic analysis. Documentaries, books, and academic conferences quickly followed, further fueling public curiosity. The international appeal of the discovery was fueled by the intrigue surrounding Richard III's controversial legacy and the technological advancements that made the identification process so groundbreaking. For many, the discovery of Richard III was not just about history. It was a unique opportunity to witness firsthand how science and history could converge to shed light on centuries-old mysteries. Furthermore, the immense public interest was evident in the thousands of visitors who flocked to Leicester Cathedral to witness the reburial of Richard III's remains in 2015. The event drew people from all over the world, united by a shared fascination with the monarch and the journey to rediscover his final resting place. Social media platforms and digital communication played a crucial role in engaging the public, creating discussions and debates about Richard's reign, legacy, and the accuracy of historical accounts. The sheer level of engagement highlighted a growing public appetite for historical discoveries that challenged conventional narratives and offered deeper insights into the human experience through time. In addition, the global attention focused on the discovery inspired renewed interest in medieval history, archaeology, and the study of monarchy. It encouraged further exploration into the complexities of Richard III's life and reign, demonstrating how history is not merely a static collection of facts, but a dynamic field that continues to evolve through discovery and research. The universal appeal of this historical revelation served to remind people of the power of history to shape identities, influence perceptions, and foster a deeper understanding of the past. Reinterment. The reinterment of King Richard III's remains at Leicester Cathedral on March 26, 2015, marked a significant and symbolic conclusion to the journey that began with their discovery beneath a Leicester car park in 2012. After being unearthed and identified through meticulous scientific and historical investigation, Richard III's remains were laid to rest in a specially designed tomb that reflected both the historical and emotional importance of the occasion. This moment was not just the final step in solving the centuries-old mystery of his burial, but it also served as a form of historical justice for a monarch whose legacy had been marred by centuries of misrepresentation and political manipulation. The reinterment was an emotional event that drew thousands of attendees, both locally and from around the world. Family members of Richard III's lineage, historians, dignitaries, and members of the public gathered to pay their respects and witness the formal commemoration of his life. The ceremony was deeply moving, with religious rites, symbolic gestures, and reflections on Richard's reign and its lasting impact. The tomb, designed to honor his memory, features a striking and dignified representation of his life, incorporating elements that reflect his turbulent reign and the historical complexities associated with his rule. The reburial also symbolized the restoration of dignity to Richard III, allowing him to be recognized beyond the negative portrayals that had dominated for centuries. It served as a moment of reconciliation between the historical facts uncovered through modern science and the stories passed down through generations. This event became a focal point for the broader public's understanding of Richard III's life. Moving beyond the caricature presented in Tudor history books and Shakespearean plays, and toward a more balanced portrayal grounded in evidence. Additionally, the reinterment emphasized the importance of historical preservation and the value of archaeological discovery in shaping our collective memory. It demonstrated how science and historical research could coexist in honoring the past, creating a space for reflection and learning that was both respectful and insightful. The reburial ceremony not only brought closure to the search for Richard III's final resting place, but also solidified the legacy of a monarch whose life had been examined, re-evaluated, and ultimately remembered with a sense of historical reverence. Historical impact. The discovery of King Richard III's remains and the subsequent re-evaluation of his legacy have had a profound and lasting impact on the fields of history, archaeology, and public understanding of medieval England. This unprecedented archaeological find has not only provided concrete evidence about the physical reality of a long-lost monarch, but has also forced historians and scholars to re-examine centuries-old narratives and beliefs about Richard III's reign. The careful integration of science, historical research, and public engagement has contributed to a more nuanced and balanced portrayal of Richard III, moving beyond the heavily politicized accounts that have dominated historical interpretations for centuries. One of the most significant impacts of this discovery is the emphasis on the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration. By combining the expertise of archaeologists, historians, forensic scientists, and genealogists, the process of uncovering Richard III's remains has demonstrated how different fields can work together to reconstruct history more accurately. The integration of cutting-edge technologies, such as DNA analysis, 3D imaging, and isotopic studies, into historical research has opened new doors for understanding the past in ways that were previously impossible. Additionally, the discovery has deepened the public's engagement with history. The global attention garnered by the excavation and reinterment of Richard III's remains has sparked greater interest in medieval history, royal lineage, and the complexities of power during the late Middle Ages. People from various backgrounds have become more invested in the study of history, encouraged by the idea that history is not just a series of facts but a living, evolving narrative that can be influenced by new discoveries. Educational initiatives, exhibitions, and discussions have emerged, allowing for a broader and more inclusive understanding of England's rich and often turbulent past. Furthermore, the ethical implications of rediscovering historical figures, particularly monarchs whose lives and reputations have been subjected to manipulation, have been brought into sharper focus. Richard III's reburial has encouraged discussions about the importance of preserving historical integrity and the role of modern science in uncovering lost truths. This dialogue has been vital in reshaping how society values historical artifacts and the legacies of figures whose stories have been distorted over centuries. In summary, the discovery and reinterment of Richard III's remains have had a lasting impact on both academic research and public consciousness. It has opened new pathways for understanding history, while promoting a deeper appreciation for the complexities of the past, challenging long-standing misconceptions, and encouraging a more balanced view of one of England's most enigmatic monarchs. Influence on historical education. The discovery of King Richard III's remains has had a significant impact on historical education, reshaping the way medieval history, archaeology, and monarchy are taught and understood in both academic and public settings. With the inclusion of recent archaeological findings, schools, universities, and institutions have adopted new methods to teach history that incorporate interdisciplinary approaches, blending historical research with science and technology to provide students with a richer, more immersive understanding of the past. Previously, the narrative surrounding Richard III was largely based on biased Tudor sources, which depicted him as a villainous usurper who ruthlessly seized the throne through deceit and treachery. As a result, many students were exposed to a simplified version of medieval history that lacked critical nuance and context. However, The discovery of his remains has encouraged educators to introduce a more balanced view of his reign, allowing students to explore the complexities of power, succession, and the political instability that characterized the late Middle Ages. Furthermore, the integration of archaeological findings into educational curricula has allowed students to engage with primary evidence in a way that is both tangible and scientific. Through detailed case studies, analyses of skeletal remains, and hands-on historical investigations, students gain a deeper appreciation for how history is not simply recorded in texts but also uncovered through scientific methods. The presence of Richard III's remains, combined with their scientific examination, becomes a powerful tool for teaching students about the interconnectedness of history and science. In addition, the discovery has sparked renewed interest in medieval warfare, medicine, and social structures, providing educators with real-world examples to enhance their lessons. For instance, students can study Richard III's scoliosis, injuries from battle, and diet to gain a better understanding of the health and living conditions of medieval monarchs. Similarly, lessons surrounding the social hierarchy, political rivalries, and the historical context of the Wars of the Roses are enriched by concrete, physical evidence, allowing for a more engaging and dynamic exploration of this period. The influence of the discovery has also fostered a more critical approach to historical inquiry. Students are encouraged to question established narratives, analyze the motivations behind historical records, and evaluate how power and politics shaped historical storytelling. In this way, historical education becomes not just about memorizing dates and events, but about understanding the complexities of human experience through evidence-based learning. Overall, the impact of Richard III's discovery on historical education is far-reaching, promoting a deeper, more interdisciplinary approach to understanding history. By integrating archaeology, science, and historical analysis, students and scholars alike are better equipped to critically engage with the past and appreciate its relevance to the present. Preservation and conservation of historical sites. The discovery of King Richard III's remains has had a profound impact on the way historical sites are preserved and conserved. The excavation and reinterment of Richard's remains beneath Leicester Cathedral brought attention to the importance of preserving not only physical remains, but also the historical context in which they exist. As more archaeological sites are discovered, the need to balance scientific exploration with ethical preservation has become a key concern for historians, archaeologists, and conservationists alike. The site where Richard III was discovered, a car park in Leicester, was transformed into a place of historical significance and public interest, showcasing how modern developments can coexist with archaeological heritage. This shift highlights the importance of integrating historical sites into the fabric of modern life while ensuring that they are preserved for future generations. The process of preserving Richard III's site demonstrated the care that must be taken when balancing progress with conservation, ensuring that historical artifacts and their contexts are respected and safeguarded against destruction or neglect. Moreover, the discovery sparked broader discussions about the preservation of other historical sites related to medieval history, especially those connected to the Wars of the Roses and the broader Tudor-Yorkist conflict. As public awareness of the need for preservation grows, there has been a renewed focus on maintaining and protecting sites where significant historical figures once lived, ruled, or died. Whether it's castles, battlefields, or royal residences, the reburial of Richard III has underscored the value of maintaining such locations to foster education, research, and tourism. In addition to physical preservation, the discovery has also emphasized the importance of conserving digital and archival records associated with historical sites. Archaeological findings are often documented in meticulous detail, including photographs, 3D scans, and written reports that contribute to a broader understanding of historical contexts. These digital records are becoming increasingly vital for future generations of historians, who rely on accurate and accessible data to conduct their research. The ethical considerations surrounding the preservation of Richard III's remains have set a precedent for future excavations, particularly when dealing with human remains of historical figures. The delicate balance between scientific exploration and respect for the deceased is critical in ensuring that the historical integrity of such sites is maintained. Preservation is not merely about safeguarding the physical space. It is about honoring the lives and the stories associated with them, fostering a deeper connection between history and society. Ultimately, Richard III's discovery has reinforced the necessity of preserving historical sites, not just as artifacts of the past, but as living repositories of knowledge and cultural heritage that continue to offer insights into the complexities of human history. Reflection on history and memory. The discovery of King Richard III's remains has prompted deep reflection on how history is remembered and memorialized, highlighting the ways in which historical figures are shaped by both contemporary and historical narratives. Richard III, a monarch who ruled during one of the most tumultuous periods in English history, had long been depicted through a distorted lens, shaped by political propaganda, and later dramatized in literature and stage plays. With the uncovering of his physical remains, society has been given the opportunity to reconsider how we memorialize historical figures and the importance of separating myth from reality. Memory plays a crucial role in shaping the perception of historical figures, and Richard III's story exemplifies how memory can be manipulated by power and political agendas. For centuries, the Tudor dynasty sought to discredit Richard III to legitimize their own claim to the throne. This manipulation of history, combined with the influence of Shakespeare's famous play, created a dominant narrative that portrayed Richard as a ruthless tyrant with little regard for moral or ethical governance. However, the discovery of his remains and the subsequent scientific analysis have provided a more complex and nuanced view of the man behind the myth. Through archaeological investigation, historians have been able to challenge the established historical memory of Richard III, offering a more balanced understanding of his reign. This process has allowed for a more nuanced view of his legacy, one that acknowledges the hardships he faced, the political instability of his time, and his efforts to secure stability in a fractured kingdom. It reflects the importance of revisiting and reassessing historical memory, especially when previous accounts are influenced by distortion or bias. Additionally, the way in which Richard III's remains were memorialized through their reinterment at Leicester Cathedral exemplifies how society can engage in meaningful historical reflection. The reburial ceremony allowed the public, historians, and descendants of Richard's lineage to pay homage to a figure whose life had been defined by centuries of misconception. It fostered a deeper understanding of how history can be both a source of inspiration and a means for learning from past mistakes. This reflection on history also invites conversations about how other historical figures, whose legacies have been influenced by propaganda or misinformation, should be reconsidered. It highlights the need for critical engagement with historical narratives, encouraging scholars and the public to seek out evidence-based truths rather than accepting widely accepted myths. By examining the interplay between history and memory, the discovery of Richard III's remains serves as a powerful reminder that history is not fixed but rather fluid, open to reinterpretation as new evidence emerges. Impact on national identity. The discovery of King Richard III's remains has had a profound impact on national identity, particularly in relation to the complex and often divisive history of England's monarchy. Richard III, often seen as a controversial and divisive figure, has long been a symbol of the turbulence and conflict that characterized the Wars of the Roses and the instability of the late Middle Ages. However, the rediscovery of his remains has sparked a renewed sense of connection to this aspect of England's past, inviting reflection on how history shapes national identity and collective memory. Throughout history, figures like Richard III have played a significant role in shaping the narratives that contribute to national identity. The medieval period, often associated with dynastic struggles and political intrigue, has been a crucial era in understanding the formation of the English state. The discovery of Richard's remains has allowed modern society to engage with this period not only through the lens of myths and legends, but through scientific and archaeological evidence. This blending of science and history serves to deepen the national narrative, offering insights into a time when England was grappling with complex questions of power, legitimacy, and governance. Moreover, the public response to the discovery reflected a broader engagement with national history. Richard III, once vilified, is now recognized as a figure who played an important role in the development of the English monarchy. His reign, albeit brief, is increasingly viewed as a critical chapter in understanding the nation's medieval past. This shift has been instrumental in fostering a more inclusive narrative that acknowledges the complexities of leadership and governance during a period of great political upheaval. The reinterment of Richard III's remains at Leicester Cathedral also served as a moment of national reflection. The ceremony, attended by a diverse group of citizens, historians, and dignitaries, highlighted the role of historical figures in shaping the collective consciousness of the nation. It encouraged a sense of unity, as people from different backgrounds came together to honor a monarch whose life had been marked by both triumphs and struggles. Additionally, the ongoing exploration of Richard III's legacy has contributed to the broader discussion of national identity by challenging long-held stereotypes and myths. This has allowed for a more nuanced understanding of historical figures and events, emphasizing the importance of moving beyond simplistic portrayals of heroes and villains. Richard III's story has become a part of the broader tapestry of England's history, a reminder of the nation's rich and complex heritage that continues to evolve as new discoveries are made. This evolution in how Richard III is perceived reflects broader changes in national identity, particularly in how England views its medieval past. In recent years, there has been a shift towards recognizing the importance of diverse perspectives in historical narratives, highlighting not only the achievements of prominent figures, but also the struggles and complexities of those who lived during tumultuous times. Richard III's reign, marked by political intrigue, social upheaval, and ambition, is increasingly seen as a reflection of these broader dynamics. Moreover, the discovery of Richard III's remains has sparked discussions about the idea of historical justice. By bringing the narrative back to a more factual basis, the restoration of his reputation has allowed for a deeper reflection on how past monarchs and figures are remembered. This aspect of historical justice resonates with contemporary issues regarding how nations reconcile with their historical legacies, addressing painful or controversial aspects of the past while striving to understand and learn from them. Richard III's story serves as a reminder that history is not always black and white. Rather, it is rich in shades of gray, where interpretations can shift as new evidence comes to light. The national identity shaped by Richard III's rediscovery has also embraced the importance of heritage tourism and education. Historical sites associated with Richard, including Leicester Cathedral, continue to attract visitors from around the world. This influx of interest has helped generate a more informed, engaged public, fostering a deeper connection between history and modern society. The cultural significance of such discoveries is not limited to academics and enthusiasts, but extends to a wider audience, making history accessible and meaningful to people of all ages. In conclusion, the discovery of Richard III's remains has had a profound and lasting impact on national identity. It has allowed for a more balanced and nuanced understanding of England's medieval history, encouraging society to embrace complexity and re-evaluate historical narratives. This reflection on the past continues to shape the way contemporary England views its history, blending scholarly inquiry with public engagement to create a richer, more inclusive sense of national identity. Additionally, the influence of Richard III's discovery extends beyond the academic and historical realms into the broader societal discourse on legacy, memory, and collective identity. As the nation reflects on the complexities of Richard's life, it prompts a deeper exploration of how historical figures are remembered and the responsibilities that come with preserving their stories. In a modern, globalized world where information is often subject to reinterpretation and revision, the rediscovery of Richard III serves as a reminder of the importance of historical accuracy, empathy, and the ongoing responsibility to confront and understand the complexities of the past. The interdisciplinary approach taken in uncovering and understanding Richard III's legacy has further deepened this dialogue. By integrating scientific research, digital humanities, and public engagement, the process has provided a model for how history can be explored in a way that is both accessible and meaningful to the public. This method bridges the gap between historical scholarship and public memory, demonstrating how history is not just a passive recounting of events, but an active process of interpretation and reinterpretation that evolves with new evidence and perspectives. Furthermore, the rediscovery of Richard III has inspired a greater appreciation for the role that historical figures play in shaping cultural narratives. His story has become a symbol of resilience and complexity, illustrating how individuals caught in the turbulent currents of history can be both villains and victims, tyrants and misunderstood rulers. This duality resonates with broader themes in national identity, where moments of historical upheaval are examined not only through the lens of success or failure, but through a deeper understanding of human experience and the forces that drive both greatness and adversity. In conclusion, the legacy of King Richard III, shaped by his rediscovery and the subsequent re-evaluation of his role in history, continues to influence how national identity is constructed and understood in England. Through critical reflection and a commitment to preserving historical accuracy, Richard III serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities of the past and the importance of embracing a multifaceted view of history. This ongoing exploration helps bridge the gap between the past and the present, fostering a deeper, more compassionate understanding of the figures who have helped shape the nation's identity. In embracing this nuanced understanding of history, we ensure that the stories of individuals like Richard III remain integral to the ongoing conversation of who we are as a nation. Through continued reflection, preservation, and exploration, we honor the complexities of the past while fostering a deeper connection to our shared heritage, guiding us toward a more inclusive and